Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcasts with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Future Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Juliette Lamar, and I have with us today the product manager at Formlabs. Welcome, Jenny Milne. How are you, Jen?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead, Jennifer, and get us started off with what is Formlabs? What do you guys do there?
Sure. So Formlabs is a 3D printer manufacturer. We're the creators of the Form 2, which is a desktop stereolithography printer. And yeah, we make very accessible fabrication tools. Specifically, we've started out with 3D printing. Our main product is Form 2, but we also have a couple of other product lines that we announced in summer. The Fuse 1, which is a SLS printer, and Form Style, which is like a production automated solution for bigger companies, yeah.
So are you mostly geared towards the in-home use or small company use, or are you just all over the place, large scale and personal use?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when we started out, Formlabs kind of became popular. We were originally a crowdfunding company, so it was more hobbyist use. I would say today, though, primarily we're selling to businesses, but we do kind of see ourselves in sort of a gray area between consumer and enterprise, because the price point is very accessible to a lot of people, but the sort of quality and output you can get from the system is absolutely used in various production settings. So we're everywhere, basically, from multiple printers at Fortune 500 companies to your 10-person mom and pop jeweler in the Midwest or whatever. So it's kind of all over the board, but primarily we are selling to businesses. We don't have so many customers who are using these in-home. It's more in a professional setting, whether that's a large or small business, however.
And you mentioned the Fuse 1 and the Form 2, and on your website I'm looking here, and it looks like on your homepage you've got 3 different contraptions here that kind of look like a popcorn maker fused with a microwave, and it's very exciting. Do you have multiple different desktop versions of the Fuse?
Sure. So I think what you're probably seeing are 2 new products we brought out for the finishing steps. So we also have these accessories called Form Wash and Form Cure. So yeah, we only have like one 3D printer, which is the Form 2, which is the product that's shipping today. The Fuse 1 is available for pre-order and hasn't yet shipped, which is our larger SLS printer. And then the 2 sort of kitchen appliance looking contraptions you're referencing are sort of accessories for the Form 2. So I'm sure we'll possibly get into this, but when your parts are done on the 3D printer, they need to be washed, and sometimes they need additional curing, which helps improve mechanical properties. So these are these are more for our sort of production customers where like convenience is everything. These are sort of set and forget systems where you can just, once your part's done, you can use these accessories to finish your parts really quickly in an automated way. So it sort of reduces the labor time in terms of getting to a finished usable part.
Absolutely. So I guess let's jump into that. Let's from the start to the finish of creating a product. How are Formlabs involved, and what are the different processes we need to be looking at?
Oh wow, so that's kind of a big question. I think I'll just sort of walk through, I guess, the printer workflow, which will be helpful, I think, for a lot of people. So yeah. All 3D printing is based on the same premise, where you start with a digital file. So it's a 3D model. Typically, that's designed in a CAD system, so computer-aided design, and there's a whole range of systems out there. So different industries will have different softwares that they gravitate towards. So you have your digital file, and then you upload it to the printer, and what happens is software converts it into slices. So really, your 3D printer technology, it's just about how do you actually create those slices and build them up to make your 3D objects. So how the Form 2 works is we use a process called stereolithography, sometimes referred to as SLA. So the material we use is a light-sensitive resin, and then how we build our layers is with a laser. So essentially, if we have a slice of your model, so if you imagine a house, the bottom layer is going to be sort of a square or a rectangle to build your base. The laser will draw out that shape, it will do the perimeter, and then it quickly moves back and forth to raster. And as it's drawing it, your plastic is hardening. So you build your first layer, then there's a step called a peel process, which separates parts. It moves up one layer, which is set by the user. So our finest layer thickness is 25 micron, but you can also print it 100 microns if you want your parts to be printed much more quickly. And then basically the process just repeats. So it does the next layer, and it peels and it lifts until your part's finished. So that's where the accessories come in. So with the Form 2, your part's still going to be covered in resin, so you need to wash it in alcohol just to quickly clean it. And if you're using one of our more functional materials, we have 15 different materials or so with different properties. It can be advantageous to apply more UV light to basically see improved mechanical properties. So that's the bulk of the printing steps. Basically, design your part in CAD, you load it into our software, send it to the printer, print the part in your material of your choice, finish your part, and then it's ready to use.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess then just quickly on your first point, how does that fit in with like product development? Again, we're sort of all over the map. So the biggest use case is for any company that's developing physical objects, it's helpful, and 3D printing is used for prototyping. Just how do you quickly test designs on a 3D printer before you go to some other production method, right? Like injection molding or, depending on the industry, like casting or mold making or some other higher volume process. However, with some new industries coming out as the technology gets more accessible and the materials get more interesting, we do have some examples where people are printing end-use parts on a printer. So, for example, we have a biocompatible resin used by dentists where they're actually printing surgical guides that are used in oral surgeries to help direct their surgical tools.
Fantastic. So that kind of leads into my next question is, what kind of materials are you using for your printers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think something I certainly spend a lot of time at Formlabs. I've been working on new materials for a couple of years now. They're all photopolymer resins. They're all acrylic-based resins, so sort of plastics, but you can kind of do a lot within that area. So we have standard materials for prototyping, and we recently launched a color kit, so you can actually color your resins to any color of your choice. That's typically used for prototyping or as your sort of entry-level material. Then we have a grouping of products we refer to as our engineering resins, and these typically require additional curing, and these are for people who are interested in better mechanical properties in one way or another. So we have a tough resin, which has good impact strength. So this gets into something known as functional prototyping, which is when you're not just printing something to see what it's going to look like and to hold it into your hand. You're actually going to print something to put it into some system where it's going to undergo some stress or strain. So if you're doing like field testing with customers and you want something a bit more robust, you might print it in engineering resin. And within that, we also have a high temperature resin that can withstand very high temperatures. Flexible material. We have 6 or so in that family. And again, that's mostly being used by sort of engineering or higher education in terms of research. And then we have materials specifically for the jewelry industry. We have a castable resin, which is used in the production of precious metal jewelry. And dental, we have a couple of biocompatible materials. And then our last category is FormX, which is kind of an experimental branch of Formlabs. This is pretty new. And just last week, we launched our ceramic resin, which we've been working on for a couple of years. So yeah, that's the materials family.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of options, which to me is just the next biggest thing with 3D printing is being able to print in any material that you need. That's going to be such a game changer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really, really interesting stuff happening with materials development. So One thing I think is very cool and sort of an advantage for Formlabs is that we do develop our materials in-house as well as doing software development. So just the pace we've been able to bring out new materials is pretty staggering. I think most of those materials have come out in the past 2 to 3 years. One thing that's really interesting is just when we brought out our first biocompatible resin, suddenly we were selling to dentists. So even though we just have one 3D printer, the number of sort of industries and the types of customers we engage can just change dramatically by just adding a new material to our portfolio.
Absolutely. So let's go dive in a little bit into the software that you offer.
Sure. What do you want to know?
All about it. I want to know all about it. So you've got a couple different things here.
So there are kind of a few different aspects of software. The main one that everyone who's running a print will interact with is Preform, which is our free software. We do stress it's not a CAD design tool. We still recommend you design parts in a CAD program, and there's lots of free ones out there if that's a constraint. But Preform is more like a sort of print dialog box, so you can download it from our website today if anyone's curious to play around with it. And you load an STL or an OBJ. These are pretty generic file types for 3D printing. So from your CAD system, you just save as an STL, and that makes a tessellated file that's suitable for printing. And then in Preform, you are basically setting up your build volume we talk about. So, say you have a very small ring, you can load one model and you can duplicate 90 of those because you want to make 100 parts in one print, or you can load up different files to use in one go. You select what material you want to work with because we have different print settings depending on the material. And then you select your layer height. So that was one thing I mentioned. You can print at 100 microns really quickly and get a slightly rougher surface resolution, or you can print at the highest resolution. It'll take a little bit longer. So those are the basic presets, but Preform is very easy to use. We have a feature called one-click print. So you can just load your file, hit that, and it will automatically orient it for you, generate supports, and lay out multiple pieces. So we get a lot of compliments that Preform is very surprisingly easy to use for people, which I think is refreshing when if you come at 3D printing expecting sort of a industrial software interface. So that's one pretty big aspect. And then the other aspect is our dashboard software, which is also free for any customer. So you register online, and this is more of it's a dashboard basically for monitoring your printer and tracking prints. So you sign up for an account at formlabs.com, and then you can register your Form 2 to it via the interface. And then you can also set up your phone, so it will let you know if there's been an interruption for any reason, if your material is running low on resin. You can look back over previous prints, so it kind of has some more printer management tools, which get interesting if you have multiple printers, or, for example, if you're running a service bureau and you're invoicing for your parts, it keeps track of all the prints you've done, how long they took, and you have a record there that you can kind of share with, you can use for invoicing. Dashboard's really awesome. We have a growing number of users, mostly, again, just for convenience, and I think it starts to get more meaningful as you have multiple printers. So you can, if you're at a school or an institution and there's 20 printers on campus, you can use the dashboard to sort of see how those resources are being utilized. The dashboard is actually the foundation that we're building off for our Form Cell, which is this automated unit of multiple printers. We're going to keep building on dashboards in terms of that automation. And if you have 6 printers registered to dashboards, how do you move to a system where you just throw different files at it and it's automatically assigning those to different printers? So you, again, kind of trying to reduce the labor involved in the day-to-day operation of these types of machines when you are at higher volumes. It starts to add up. So that's something we're very focused on.
Fantastic. And besides all your products that you also offer a couple services. If you buy products, it looks here like you have service plans and potentially some training that could benefit people. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm super glad you asked because I feel like I never get to talk about those products, but they're very important, obviously, to the user experience. So Yeah, Formlabs has this sort of interesting history. We have a lot of awesome customers, and I think a big part of that is from the start, we always offered a free 1-year warranty as standard with the printer. We have incredible customer support. A lot of our team, everyone's in-house, whether in Europe or Berlin. A lot of them have technical backgrounds, and they really do help people, whatever's going on, whether it's just like a problem with your printer. The worst case scenarios, people say, I have a print, it didn't come out how I expected. We can help them troubleshoot that and pinpoint a solution. Or just from our educational stuff, because sometimes people are like, I tried to print this and it didn't turn out, and it might be that there is an issue with the part because they're kind of new to CAD or new to designs, and what they're trying to do is just generally a hard thing to print. So that's the basic level, and then as our sort of customer base has evolved, we're certainly servicing more and more professional customers and enterprise customers. So we have our Pro Service Plan, which offers additional phone support, and it comes with a 1-hour training on a topic of your choice. So depending on what your reservations may be, for some people, they might be intimidated and they just really want to be walked through starting a print from start to finish, or it may be more about a particular application that they're interested in, whether they're coming from jewelry and dental and they want to focus in on those products. So we're pretty flexible in how we use that time, and that's done, again, with just a video call with one of our service engineers. And another great feature of Pro Service Plan is, again, very just focused on this high production scenario and trying to minimize any downtime. So if you do have an issue, there's much more faster issue resolution. So we don't ask you to go through, the full back and forth of trying to pinpoint an issue you're having. We'll do kind of something we call hot swapping. So we'll just get a new unit out to you while you send the other one back. Generally a lot of people very dedicated to making sure people stay up and running and can continue printing, so they have minimal distraction to their business when things do go wrong.
Exactly, and it doesn't sound like you're just giving people products. You're focusing on training them and allowing them to use the full capabilities of each product. Yeah,
we spend a lot of time there, and I think one thing that's nice for people that have opted into Dashboard, we do care about how much people are printing. So it's not just are they buying product, but are they actually using it? And one thing my team has been focused on is I work on applications engineering. So we're constantly learning about new workflows and best practice in using 3D printing and then creating content. So we are creating a lot of white papers or running webinars additionally on sort of more advanced examples of using 3D printers. So we just did a piece of content on jigs and fixtures that are being used to, on production lines. How do you use 3D printed parts to manufacture your product? Or another example, one of my colleagues is currently looking at how do you use 3D printed parts to cast large metal parts for engineering examples. So a lot of cool stuff, and that's all kind of, as you say, focused on continued education, which, most of our customers are very passionate about. How do we keep engaging them both to use their product, but really the motivation is just get the most out of their product or make sure they're using the right material or the right approach for this particular problem they're trying to solve.
And where can people see your machines? I know online you have a great, very easily usable package configuration here with the materials and the printers and what you need. Are there resellers in which countries are there resellers that people can come and maybe see these machines for themselves before buying them?
Yeah. So we primarily are an online retailer. However, I definitely recommend going to formlabs.com. There's two ways you can see a printer in the wild. Either join us at an event we're attending, and we keep that pretty up to date on the website. For example, I know we're going to be tomorrow. My colleague's flying out to JCK, which is a big jewelry event in Las Vegas, and we go to events across all kinds of industries. We do also have a great distribution network. We work with a lot of resellers. Again, those are all listed online. So if you're in a particular region, you can see resellers by country and find out if there's one near you. And very often they will have showrooms where you can go and check out the product. We actively sell directly in North America and Europe. And then through our distribution network, we sell fairly broadly around the world. I will hesitate to list countries because that's kind of always changing. But certainly in Asia, Australia, South Africa, South America. Yeah.
Fantastic. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today and let us know about these fantastic printers. It's a very easy, clean website. I love it. It's very straightforward. You can go on there and find what you need quickly.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear because I feel like we're always adding web pages. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. That was Jennifer Kiln. She is the product manager at Formlabs. You can check out all their very exciting information and technologies at Formlabs, FORMLABS.com. This has been Juliette Lamar for Future Tech Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.